In times of war, you can see abominable things, but similarly, you can also see strange things. Today, we will see a series of monsters and abnormal creatures that appeared in the First and Second World Wars, as well as in the Vietnam War. So far, no one has given a precise explanation for these facts, nothing beyond speculation and supposition. The first bizarre event occurred in World War I, August 22, 1914. The German army, which had more than 160,000 men, crossed Belgium, trying to enter France to invade it. However, the British Expeditionary Force, with only half the number of the German forces, closed the way. Near the town of Mons, both forces met in a bloody battle that lasted 2 days. Incredibly, the British managed to stop the German advance, at least temporarily. Reports said that England had won the Battle of Mons, but that they had received support, and it wasn't exactly an army. It turns out that the British soldiers were attacked by ghost archers, who suddenly appeared on the battlefield, killing enough Germans with arrows to match the forces and make them retreat. Later, the ghost archers were called angels. Many claimed that after the massacre, it was confirmed that a large number of the Germans were killed by arrow wounds. Something similar happened in China, occupied by Japan, during the Second World War. The Japanese Empire subdued the Chinese people, so much so that they even bombed many defenseless cities for no apparent reason. Dr. Charles Kimber was a missionary of the Catholic Church who had already been living in China for a decade. In 1940, on the same day, he received 2 letters. The first was from a Japanese pilot known to him. In that letter, he related that during a mission to bomb a defenseless Chinese population, he was the captain and escorted the group of bombers on their hunt. Then, as they approached his target, he saw what appeared to be a group of angels with swords blocking his vision. At first, he thought it must just be clouds, but then it was impossible to ignore the phenomenon, since more and more of these beings appeared, surrounding the population. In view of all this, the captain decided to return to the base and tell the missionary. A few days later, he was executed for disobeying orders. The second letter came from a Chinese friend of Dr. Charles Kimber. Surprisingly, he recounted in detail the same facts, only seen from the ground. Now, let's go back to the Vietnam War. The American forces, trapped in the thick jungle, didn't just confront the Viet Cong. In fact, they faced something much more terrifying. The Apes of the Rocks was how the soldiers baptized these creatures, which showed up several times. The most interesting thing is that all the testimonies described them in the same way: 2 meters or more high, reddish hair, a powerful musculature, bipeds walking upright. Additionally, this is where one of the recorded apparitions of Asian Bigfoot took place in 1969. Lieutenant Michael Kelly of the 101st Division was with his troops. It was lunchtime and they decided to stop and rest. Then 8 of these creatures appeared among the trees and seemed to follow a path that led them to the American soldiers. At first, they thought they were Vietnamese soldiers, so they wasted no time in pointing and releasing all the lead from the loaders on those creatures. Lieutenant Kelly said the creatures were too fast, so no bullets hit the target. However, there was one of them that approached the men grunting terribly and showing its sharp teeth. Then they disappeared into the bushes and foliage. 3 years before what happened, a battalion of Marines was approaching what reports said was a large group of Viet Cong soldiers. The orders were to take a hill in the Quang Nam province and hold the position until the enemy appeared, who was heading in that direction. But it turned out it wasn't the Viet Cong. In fact, in a matter of minutes, the hill was surrounded by dozens of rock apes. The commander, seeing that the strange creatures did not seem to be aggressive, ordered the men not to fire their weapons, but to throw rocks at them to drive them away. To everyone's surprise, the creatures did not flee, but began to return the rocks to the Marines and howl in such a horrible way that their blood froze. The soldiers gathered and covered themselves with what they could. Eventually, the creatures began to disappear into the jungle. Reports say there were at least 100 rock apes harassing the Marines. To this day, no one has been able to explain exactly what these angels and rock apes were. And until something like this is seen again, the mystery will continue to grow into a legend.